Margaret O'Neill. I'm a historical costumer and textile conservator in training, and today we will be looking at this 1840s corset. Now, this corset came to me through way of online auction. I saw the listing, and although it looks quite simplistic, I knew right away that this was something really, really special. And it is. This is a fabulous piece. Although it may look very plain, it is a very, very well constructed hand-sewn support garment. Now, if you're familiar with early 19th century corsetry, you probably know that this style of unboned corded corsets was popular between about 1800 until around 1840, 1850-ish. During the 1840s and 50s, that's when we start to see these more classically Victorian boned corsets come into fashion. This piece in particular is on the tail end of this soft corded corset structure. I believe this corset to have been made and worn by a younger woman, probably somewhere between 14 and 16 in age. The reason I say that is a lot of these corsets, although not all of them, a lot of the examples that I've seen often have sort of gores for the boobage and then gores for the hips. This is more straight up and down. There is shape here. There's definitely shape going on. However, this is not a super developed individual who is going to be wearing this garment. So let's just start off right off the bat. As you can see from the front, again, super plain, just cotton twill fabric. It has two seams going down the front and then two side seams, and then it has just the closure in the back. On the front here, you can see the outline of the busk pocket, which we will talk about later. And you can also see this beautiful signature. Now, this signature I can't really make out, but I believe it says Olive G, and then I can't make out the last name. I think it starts with an F, but this was made by Olive. It's signed, I believe, because this may have been a piece that she made sort of in school, possibly. Again, that's total speculation. I'm not entirely certain of the practices of 1840s school people. This does seem to be a showpiece in a way. It was probably worn, but it does seem to be sort of a tour de force of skill. Editing Margaret here. So when I was doing the research for the pocket video and reading The Pocket by Berman and Fenito, if you haven't seen that video, you should totally watch it. There was an entire chapter on the laundering of pockets, and they mentioned that this type of marking on a garment, especially undergarments and linens, was used to identify garments and who they belonged to. This would have been sent out to be laundered and then sent back to the household, and they would sometimes also put on a year. So it's possible it was made by Olive, but it's also possible that this is just a laundry marking. So I just wanted to put that in. The more you know, research, more research I do, my opinions are always changing. So there's that. You can see these beautifully shaped straps, which are literally flat-felled on, and the stitching is so tiny. It is completely bound in a twill tape, white twill tape, and then the straps are actually lined with a just a plain woven cotton. So let's flip it over here. So you can see there's not a lot of cording on this corset. A lot of the corsets that I've seen from this era, and of course those being more in museum collections, just have a wacky amount of cording in them. It's more of like artistic sometimes. It does provide support, but this just has two rows of cording on either side of the lacing strip, essentially. So 4 lines of cording on each side. We have metal grommets in a cross-lacing pattern, which is just gorgeous. We're gonna open it up here. And you can see there is some shape to this. This does have, this side curve does give quite a bit of shape, and these curved seams in the front do give some shape too. So this is not shapeless, this is not a tube. This was definitely meant for a bit of torso sculpting. And you can see, oh my God, these seams are so beautiful. So these seams were abutted together and then sewn with a whips-like stitch. And they are so tiny and so perfect. Now this is flat-lined, as you can see. So what would have happened is each of these pieces would have been put together separately with the lining, the cotton twill, and then the plain woven cotton lining. The raw edges would have been flipped in by about 1/8 of an inch. They would have been top stitched down. You can still see that top stitching. and then the pieces would have been abutted together and sort of whip stitched together like this, and it's just perfection. The busk pocket, as you can see, the opening is also lined in a twill tape, and then you just have this long sort of tube running down. So in this era of corsetry, from about 1800 to, this was made in 1845, at least it's dated 1845. So we're gonna say like 1800 to 1850. During the 1840s and 50s, we are seeing that transition, but this was also made during that time. The corsets would have been constructed, obviously with the cording, as we said, but they would have had a long piece of either wood, possibly baleen, possibly bone, possibly horn, stuck sort of down the middle. This would have not only forced a lady to stand upright, but would also provide some boob separation. So you have sort of this defined double breast situation going on. It would also have flattened out the front of you as well. There were busks in some 18th century stays, and sort of a holdover from that. Once we get into the more stereotypical Victorian like steel bone corsets, we sort of lose the busk in this sense, and we get the split busk that opens. So this is just, I can't describe to you how absolutely beautiful the stitching is on this garment, and I'm going to try to show it off as best I can, although it's probably going to be very hard to see. This garment is definitely best appreciated in real life. I absolutely love this garment. Hopefully, when I'm done with my Madame de Pompadour project, I will then be starting an 1860s project, but hopefully after that, I will get to make a corset quite like this one. So I will definitely be using this one as inspiration, as well as a couple others that you've probably seen on screen throughout the duration of this video. So if you have any questions about this corset, please leave them down in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. If you would like to follow along on my sewing adventures, antique collection tours, and preservation tips, you can hit subscribe to follow along with this channel. You can also follow me on Instagram at Costuming Conservation and on TikTok at Costuming Conservation, where I do just short form little mini tours of my objects in my collection. I hope you come along for the journey. Have a nice day.